There's not one chord out there that encapsulates the I don't give a frick attitude as well as the power chord does. 2 notes is all it took for Kurt Cobain to swoon you into liking his music. One single chord shape is what Billy Corgan rode to victory. How could a bonehead simple chord on the guitar just sound so good and be so effective? Well, let's break it down. Let's start with the open D chord. If you're playing up towards the 2nd fret, an open D requires 3 notes. It's the D, F sharp, and A. Now, if you can wrap your fingers around the fretboard tight enough, you'll be able to achieve a bar chord. These are a little tricky, but with the right technique, all 6 strings will ring out in perfect harmony, each note blending better than the last. I want you to take the simplicity of the open D chord and blend it with the fullness of a bar chord. We wind up with the 2-note power chord, the most effective way to sound like you know what you're doing on guitar. Now these chords are so incredibly versatile because they only have 2 notes. You can play them over minor progressions and major progressions and they'll sound just as good. Now this is an A major chord, but you already know that. The signature sound of this chord comes from this note here. But if we remove this here, this 3rd note, we're left with a power chord. Because power chords don't contain the 3rd note in a scale, they're incredibly versatile and you can move them all over the fretboard, no matter major or minor. If you're new at this, I want you to practice the following. I want you to take a simple B power chord shape and just practice this slide. Strum once and slide. And do that starting very slowly. My friend, we're on the way to greatness, okay? Just keep sliding. 3 freaking strums, y'all. Now we're on that E, and you could get a little spicy by adding that open E string on top of everything. And then it starts to sound very hair metal. Okay, I'm getting carried away. Quite a jump there, quite a jump. From this power chord shape at the 10th fret, we're just bobbing back and forth between the 10th and the 9th fret. Now, if you want to build strength in your fingers, I just want you to pluck once and practice sliding between the frets. It's tough, but it'll build strength in your fingers, which is what you need for this next move. Diving right into the D power chord shape. And it's just such a kick-ass riff. If you're like me and you have a single coiled setup, you're gonna need just a little bit of volume on your amp, possibly a distortion pedal, though don't push it. To me, power chords are cheat codes. You know, you could make something so epic by basically doing nothing on the fretboard. That sounds epic. I don't even know what I just played. So what happens when you practice vocals too much? And when you get famous and you get all of those eyes on you, your guitar chops aren't there yet. What do? Well, you drop tune. A prime example of this is Dave Grohl. He was originally a drummer for Nirvana, but when he switched to guitar, starting the Foo Fighters, he actually drop tuned a ton. The opening riff starts off with a simple power chord shape, and what gives it a ton of flavor is this open low E string. That is now tuned to D, thanks to your brilliance. Yeah. Now this is like a messy octave shape here, so we're barring on the 9th fret all the way up to the D string, where our pinky will be on the 11th fret. It strikes me as a messy octave chord, so that's what we're gonna identify it as. Take that same shape, right, and then go to the 5th fret, back to the 9th fret, and then repeat. Adding a little bit more flesh into those strums will make your guitar sound more percussive. So I'm even getting some of my index finger in there, the nail on my index finger. To me, it's all about using what you got. If you only got power chords, then I'll tell you how to use them efficiently in this video. Now that we're in drop D, I can explore the different possibilities with this tuning. So I want you to take a power chord shape up by the 5th fret. Just like we did for Everlong, I want you to keep that low E string ringing out throughout the whole thing. Index, ring finger, pinky. The math rock folks love this chord, but it's really not that complicated. I'm at the 5th fret with this shape, moving down to the 2nd fret with the same shape. And then to spice it up, I go all the way up. I go all the way up to the 9th fret, and then back down to the 2nd fret shape. You can go from a power chord to an exotic sounding minor chord with just a couple extra notes, such as this E minor add 9. David Gilmore was really a master at utilizing open strings like this. Yeah. Without those open strings, this A major chord sounds pretty straight, but David Gilmore opens this chord up by using an open B string and an open E string. Since the birth of rock and roll, sloppy accuracy has taken on many different forms, such as Billy Corgan's use of this technique. Billy Corgan uses octaves for the majority of the main riff. Like the power chord, an octave is 2 notes. For Cherub Rock, I'm using the 11th fret of the A string, combined with the 13th fret of the G string. And it's so important that you get that open low E string on top of everything else. Look familiar, right? Kinda sounds like Everlong if you ask me. You're gonna have that open low E string ringing out throughout the entire riff. Since the beginning, we're exposed to players like Slash and Yngwie Malmsteen and all these players who are incredibly great when it comes to shredding. But it took me many years of guitar playing to realize that sometimes less is more. Now, power chords are great, but there's one chord that they pair the best with. I believe that is the open chord. Now, it might be a long time since you've last thought of playing open chords. When used in the right context, they can be incredibly effective. Basically, we're jumping from A minor to C, then E minor to G. Play these chords as basic as possible, only laying my fingers down for 2 notes. It's the open strings and the extra strums that make it sound so interesting. Kurt Cobain goes the extra mile because when the vocals kick in, he's arpeggiating these chord shapes. And when the time is right, he ramps right back up to 100%. I think Kurt's playing, this technique of using open chords and power chords in a perfect blend, really comes from some of the early Beatles recordings. John Lennon was great at using only a couple of frets and a few strings to make a riff sound catchy. Like Day Tripper, hello! I'm not going past the 4th fret here, but it's the articulation of notes that makes this riff sound so interesting. Even more basic than that, money, that's what I want. But it's the way he climbs up dramatically using only 2 strings and a little bit of palm muting that makes this riff so incredibly catchy. Think about it this way, we're living in the same timeline as Polyphia. This band is producing some of the most complex guitar riffs out there. Power chords are an occasional reminder that sometimes simple is a good thing. I thought I'd just hop on here and show you the many different ways you could utilize simple chord shapes. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.